Olá, meu nome é Carlos Arruda, eu sou professor da Fundação Dom Cabral e tenho o prazer de estar aqui com vocês hoje, abrindo uma série de podcasts sobre o tema inovação. E para participar dessa abertura, eu tenho aqui comigo um especialista em inovação, o Dr. Hitendra Patel. O Hitendra é diretor do Centro de Inovação, Excelência e Liderança em Cambridge, Massachusetts, que é um instituto dedicado a pesquisas avançadas e treinamento em inovação. Ele também é professor titular da cadeia de inovação e crescimento da Universidade de Hood, que é o Hood International Business School, com sede em Boston, Dubai, Londres e Xangai. O Hitendra é coautor do livro 101 Inovações Breakthrough e de um estudo realizado em Singapura sobre inovação no nível das empresas. E nós estamos com o Hitendra aqui hoje para abrir essa série, para falar do seu livro 101 Inovações Breakthrough. Hitendra, é um prazer recebê-lo e um prazer tê-lo conosco aqui no lançamento do Centro de Referência e Inovação, que nós participamos ontem. Muito obrigado.
Thank you for having me here.
Hitendra, eu gostaria então de começar a nossa conversa de hoje falando sobre o seu livro 101 Inovações Breakthrough, mas para isso eu queria que você nos falasse primeiro o que é o seu entendimento de inovação. Qual a sua definição de inovação?
Yeah, I think this is a very important question. What we find again and again is every company has got their own definition of innovation. Individuals have different definition of innovation. And so the definition that we have seen over the last 30 years is it's the creation and capture of new value. Mm-hmm. And when you expand on that, on the creation side, it's new products, new services, it could be new technologies, it could be new processes. And then the new ways of creating value. It could be how you manufacture, how you actually distribute, how you make it available to different channels, and even how you brand it. And then ultimately, it's the capture of value. You have to capture value here. And the capture of value could be through new markets, new segments, which have been neglected. It could be through branding and basically marketing around it. But it's collectively, it's new ways to create new value.
Fala pouquinho, então, do seu livro e da pesquisa que está por trás do livro e a metodologia que vocês usaram.
Sure. One of the challenges we faced again and again was companies would ask us, give us examples of innovations. And when we gave examples, we would tell them in different ways, in different styles, and different consultants would say it in different ways. And the customers would get confused as to what is the innovation breakthrough. So what we said was, why don't we collect all the innovations that we know and present them in a systematic way? And if you can put 101 examples and present them in a systematic, consistent way, then the patterns can emerge and we can use the same definition to talk about innovations. Mm-hmm. The real issue here was there were a lot of examples of innovations, and some of them were technology innovations, some of them were market innovations, and different people would disagree. Mm-hmm. That these are not all innovations. And we said, actually, they all are because there was a creation of new value, mm-hmm. and there was a capture of that value in the process for doing that.
Dê alguns exemplos de inovação, dessas 101 inovações.
Yeah. You know, this was interesting. We were very surprised by what we found through the research. At first, we thought most of the innovations would be technology-driven, and it would be like Teflon or Intel microprocessors. But again and again, when we looked at the examples, there were examples which were not completely driven by technology. Some of them were around markets, some of them were around channels, some of them were around occasion. Mm-hmm. So the examples which I'd like to mention is the Tata car, for example. Tata has now made a nano car. And this car only came to the market because somehow the CEO of the company recognized that there was a gap in the market for providing cars in the $3,000 range. And it wasn't that people couldn't afford to buy a $3,000 car. It's just that nobody was making any effort to make a $3,000 car. And so there's a neglected niche over here, and that in itself is the understanding that there is a segment, and to try and make technologies and manufacture car around that particular direction. Similarly, I mean, there were other examples like Enterprise, the car company, rental company, which is the #1 rental car company in the world now. Most people know of Avis and most people know of Hertz, but nobody knows about Enterprise. They basically said, we aren't going to go to the airport where the premium customer is, who rents cars. We're going to go and rent cars to people whose cars break down. Mm-hmm. And they're breaking down every day. And on Saturdays and Sundays, so they don't have the same issues of premium travelers. And so they put locations in the garages where you would take your car for being repaired. Mm-hmm. And when you called up that your car was broken with the insurance company, they would refer you to enterprise would give you a car. And so they created a whole new system of how to get referred, the locations, and at the end they were still renting a car.
So muito interessante. Eu sei que teríamos 101 inovações. Alguma do Brasil?
Yeah. So in Brazil, what was wonderful was, at first we thought most of the innovation would be in North America and Northern Europe. But again and again we found examples in countries like Brazil, India, China, where great things were happening. Examples like the 724, where you can buy books in the train stations, where instead of having, traditional model was a bookstore. And you go from 6 to 6 to buy a book. Now you can get a book whenever, same as a vending machine. Very clever to do that. There were examples from Havaianas, which you guys are all familiar with. Fantastic product. Doesn't cost that much to manufacture, but the market loves it.
E ficou muito fashion, né,
Yes.
nas Havaianas.
But Casa Bahia is the one which really amazed me, impressed me, because they went after the neglected niche. There's a big market in Brazil which is not trusted initially because they were poor. And there were no credit scores for these individuals, but they desired, just like all of us, branded products. And they were able to find a credit score and make the credit accessible to these people, and as a result, open the market to the products, to the segments. And as a result, I think Casa Bahia is one of the most successful companies in this country.
Para terminar, final question. Eu tive recentemente numa conferência e uma pessoa me fez uma pergunta que eu gostaria de transferir para você. Ele dizia o seguinte: ele trabalha numa empresa onde a empresa não tem a cultura da inovação e onde a liderança da empresa não acredita que a inovação seja estrategicamente importante para a sua empresa. A pergunta dele é possível desenvolver inovação numa empresa bottom-up? É possível transformar uma empresa de baixo para cima, criando inovações e cultura de inovação?
Yeah, I think that's a very common problem and a very difficult challenge. I think the easiest thing is you want leadership support, because with leadership support comes funding, with it comes support for ideas and everything else. But having said that, that doesn't mean it's impossible, but it requires a lot of work. What we are finding again and again, if you are really interested in doing this, you have to stay focused on your day job. You have to deliver on your day results, because if you don't do that in this type of companies, you'll probably are at risk of losing your job. So you have to make sure you deliver on your day job, and then create the space to do some things which are interesting, which are new ideas. And here what we find, again, is the common traits of people. The people who are doing this, they tend to pick the place, the focus of where they want to innovate. They pick the spot, and then they're very persistent in staying with it. They have a lot of passion, and then they are basically willing to be focus on this thing and talk about it and share to other people what they're doing. And as a result of that, the results will come. Many companies will call that skunk works, right? But you need to stick with it, and sooner or later you will contaminate the culture and the people around you. But I do think you do want to work from the top and the bottom. And often what will happen is people who don't get support from the top, they'll probably leave your company. And they'll join other companies which are more exciting, or they'll take those ideas and start their own companies.
Talvez o importante seja lembrar que inovação sempre pressupõe risco, sempre pressupõe incerteza, e nem sempre o resultado da inovação é o que nós esperaríamos. Mas ainda sobre isso nós vamos falar várias outras vezes nessa nossa série de podcasts. Hitendra, muito obrigado pela sua participação conosco. Se você gostou deste podcast, nós estamos à disposição no Núcleo de Inovação da Fundação do Cabral. Entre em contato conosco para mandar suas ideias no e-mail inova@fdc.org.br ou visite o nosso site www.fdc.org.br. Muito obrigado. Obrigado, Hitendra.
Thank you very much.
Tchau.